Trigger that killed your son, masturbates to memory.
You just gave me 40 years. Sir? Yes. You just gave me 40 years. Well, guess what? Sir, what's this?
This is Jaleel Smith Riley, who is facing charges for murder in Michigan. Smith Riley was involved in an armed robbery on November 16, 2013, in Norwood, where he and two other men approached a parked car. Inside the parked car was 20-year-old Portia Brooks and her boyfriend, Aaron Martin. Smith Riley knocked on the window with a handgun and forced Martin, who was in the passenger seat, out of the car. Jaleel then proceeded to go through Aaron's pockets and demanded his cash. Once Jaleel had taken every dollar Aaron had, he then took his life with a shot to the head, causing permanent brain damage. However, Jaleel wasn't done there. Right after shooting Aaron, he then leaned into the car and fired at Brooks, who was sitting in the car, twice. And she died 3 days later. Fortunately, Martin survived the shooting, but sustained serious injury. Before the judge announced the sentence that Jaleel would be facing, Portia's family got the chance to address the jury and the man who took their daughter away from them. Sharon Brooks, Portia's mother, brought the box containing her daughter's ashes to the courtroom, as she had for previous court dates. She stated that Smith Riley had ruined her life and killed her identity as a mother of three.
This is what I have left because of his greed, his selfishness, his complete disregard of and disrespect of others and life. But as you can see, I get nothing back, except the reality that she is gone.
Tia Marie Brooks, Portia's sister, also spoke emotionally and requested that Smith Riley be handed the maximum sentence.
I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
Then, Aaron, who Jaleel shot in the head, spoke to the court.
She's still here with us, and she will always be here. So she's our angel looking over us, helping us get through these hard times.
As if Smith Riley's crime was not outrageous enough, his reaction to his sentence was even more dramatic. During the trial on August 11, 2021, Smith Riley pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and attempted murder. However, he later decided to withdraw his guilty plea against the advice of his attorneys.
Well, from the beginning, this was an emotional day for the families of both of these victims, but when Smith Riley decided to reverse his plea halfway through the sentencing hearing, they were shocked, and his attorneys were too, in part because it puts the death penalty back on the table.
Prior to receiving his sentence, Jaleel was heard apologizing in court as what appeared to be a last attempt at showing remorse.
Sorry. This is what I come.
Additionally, Jaleel's attorney made a final attempt at saving face.
And he knows that he can't go back in time and undo what he did.
Despite the tears and the apologies, Judge Charles Kubicki, presiding over the case in Hamilton County Common Pleas Court, denied Smith Riley's request and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The 23-year-old monster that is currently rotting behind bars collapsed to the floor of the courtroom upon receiving his sentence. Smith Riley also received an additional sentence of 11 years for a related attempted murder charge. However bad you think Smith Riley's case was, it can't be compared to the infamous case of TJ Lane. This is TJ Lane, who's facing charges for multiple murders in Ohio. TJ Lane was a convicted American murderer who gained notoriety after committing a horrific crime at Chardon High School in Ohio. On February 27, 2012, the Ohio Police Department responded to multiple calls from teachers and students that there was an active shooter in the building.
High school, we had shots fired, gunshots, multiple gunshots. 911.
Chardon High School, we need police up here. Was there someone in the building with a gun?
Yeah.
According to police reports, Lane entered the school and headed to the cafeteria. It was here that TJ Lane opened fire and killed 3 students and severely injured 3 others. 6 people got physically harmed at the hands of TJ Lane that day, but hundreds, if not thousands of people left Chardon High School on February 27, 2012, with intangible pain that will last through eternity.
Glances of your friends laying all over the place, there's blood, there's people screaming, everybody's running in different directions, and you're just trying to get out.
I saw a kid holding a gun, pointing it towards a group of kids. Do you remember the look on the gunman's face?
I never looked at his face, I just looked at the gun. I still can't think about it all because it's just so scary.
Lane's actions sent shockwaves through the community. He was swiftly apprehended and charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of attempted aggravated murder, and 1 count of felonious assault. As if the murders were not bad enough, Lane showed no remorse for his actions at the trial and refused to cooperate with his attorneys. Instead, he appeared in court wearing a t-shirt with the word killer written on it, and even gave the middle finger to the victims' families. During the sentencing hearing, Lane made a shocking statement.
Saying to pull the trigger, the killer's son, masturbates to memory.
The statement caused outrage and disgust, not only among the families of the victims, but also across the entire nation. The judge presiding over the case, Judge David Fury, described Lane's behavior as heinous, unprovoked, and senseless, and sentenced him to 3 life sentences in prison without parole. Lane didn't even bat an eyelid when he heard his sentence. He remained emotionless and unremorseful. Lane's behavior and reactions were likened to that of a psychopath. However, not every convict remained emotionless after hearing their sentence, like in the case of Ryan Stone. This is Ryan Stone, who is facing charges for going on a crime splurge throughout the nation, including kidnapping and assault, all of which was captured and broadcasted live by helicopters. The chase began after Stone hijacked a car with a 4-year-old boy inside and drove off, leading police on a dangerous pursuit that lasted more than an hour. During the chase, Stone drove up to 100 miles per hour and was reckless in every regard of the word. He's seen here overtaking an innocent civilian on the highway, throwing them out of the car before carrying on in the new vehicle. But that's not all. Watch here as he exits the highway, opens the car door at full speed, then slams onto the brakes right before crashing into another car parked in an intersection. Investigators believe this was a sorry attempt at another carjacking. Stone also crashed into several other vehicles during this chase, causing numerous injuries. At one point, he even came inches from taking out a policeman who was trying to place stop sticks on the highway. He eventually crashed the stolen car and attempted to flee on foot. However, he was quickly apprehended by police and placed in a holding cell. As if Stone's actions weren't bad enough, he was caught on tape boasting about his actions to a friend who visited him in the cell.
Hey, did you know I made the news in the UK and Australia? What? Yeah, my lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia. If you type in Grand Theft Auto on YouTube, my shit comes up first.
Ryan also believed that he should be compensated for his viral car chase because the news channels are using his car chase footage.
I'm going to contact Channel 7 News or have you contact Channel 7 News or somebody. You guys aren't getting paid using my name.
Stone was charged with 26 crimes involving kidnapping, motor vehicle theft, assault, and eluding police. Stone's sentencing hearing was emotional. In court, many of his victims and their families can be heard speaking about the impact of his crimes on their lives. Some spoke of physical injuries they had sustained in the crash, while others described the emotional trauma they had experienced due to the incident. Stone spoke at the hearing. He cried, expressed remorse for his actions, and apologized to his victims. Isn't it ironic that in the same week, Ryan was captured in the video on the left laughing and boasting about his crimes, and on the other video on the right, he's seen crying and begging for sympathy from the court, as he finally realized the severity of his actions. Despite his apology, the judge in the case was unmoved, noting that Stone had shown a pattern of criminal behavior and that he posed a threat to society. The judge handed down the maximum sentence possible. Stone pleaded guilty to all charges and was sentenced to 160 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Stone was in tears when he learned he'd spend the rest of his life in prison. Stone blamed his actions on drugs, and his show of remorse might be sincere. However, some convicts are rather shocked by their sentences, like in the case of Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari. This is Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari, who are facing charges for first-degree murder in Michigan. Seth and Tatiana were the parents of 10-month-old Marianne Welch, who police said died of malnutrition and dehydration due to neglect on August 2, 2018, in Solon Township, Kent County, Michigan. Child Protective Services had been involved with the family since 2014 after THC was found in the system of their firstborn child. Mary weighed only 8 pounds at the time of her death. Her parents refused to seek medical help, citing religious reasons and distrust of the medical system. The family home was found to be unhygienic during the initial investigation, with evidence of vermin, insects, and mold. The doctor who performed the autopsy confirmed that Mary was suffering from chronic malnutrition caused by withholding food and water. Seth's call to 911 revealed their level of neglect for their daughter.
And he said, when you found her, she was already believed to be deceased, right? Yes. And that's when you consulted with a lawyer? Yep. Do you believe she was beyond help already? Oh yeah, she was dead as a doormat.
When in court, the prosecutors made sure to highlight just how neglectful the parents were of their 10-month-old child.
You didn't know that. And don't tell me you didn't intend that, because you didn't get her little tush out of that crib. You left her in there. You ignored her because she was an inconvenience.
The couple was initially charged with felony homicide murder in August 2018. In June 2020, Seth Welch was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. In 2021, Fusari testified that her husband was abusive and that she was not allowed to take Mary to the doctor.
He got very angry with me. He smacked me across the face and he told me that he knows how he said, "You know what the I think about doctors. I told you Mary is fine. She's fine, now drop it."
In November 2021, Fusari was sentenced to life without parole for first-degree murder and an additional 15 to 30 years for first-degree child abuse. When the judge pronounced their life sentence, Seth's mouth dropped open in shock and Fusari started crying. For many people, this couple got what they deserved. However, this wasn't the only time a convict got a sentence that felt like justice. There was the case of Esteban Carpio. This is Esteban Carpio, who is facing charges for murder in Rhode Island. Carpio is an American murderer who killed a detective at a Providence police station in 2005. Providence Police Detective Sergeant James L. Allen and another detective were questioning Carpio at the Providence Police headquarters for accosting an 85-year-old woman, Madeline Gata. According to police reports, the second detective left to the third-floor interview room to retrieve some water. It was here where things took a turn for the worst.
Carpio had asked for water, and the two detectives that were in there with him, one left to go get the water and locked the door behind him. And they tragically heard Detective Allen say, "I think he's going to kill me. He's got my gun, he's going to kill me." By the time they broke it down, the officer was dying, and Carpio had jumped out the window.
However, he was recaptured a few minutes later amid struggles with the police. But that was not the end of the drama. Due to the risky jump and struggles with the police, Carpio sustained injuries. When it came time for his sentencing, Carpio came to court wearing a mask designed to keep him from spitting at or biting others. His face was red, bruised, and swollen. When he appeared in court, his family members screamed and accused the police of brutality.
I'm not guilty, Stephen!
The family believed that they forced him to wear the mask to try and hide the brutal revenge beating they gave Carpio behind closed doors. In fact, Carpio's aunt went on live TV to say this.
It's gross police brutality. He was mentally ill, and he needed help, and we couldn't get it. We tried and tried, and he didn't deserve this.
However, Providence Police Chief Dean M. Esserman argued that Carpio's injuries were sustained when he jumped from the third-floor interview room and resisted arrest. The FBI later investigated the police, but it was concluded that they did not use excessive force.
No civil rights violation when injuries are incident to arrest. Meaning, if he's fighting the police officers, the officers have the right to use whatever force necessary to subdue the subject.
On June 27, 2006, a jury found Carpio guilty of the murder of Detective Allen and the stabbing of Madeline Gata. Despite his plea of insanity, Carpio was sentenced to life in prison without parole. At first, he showed little reaction to his sentence and remained unmoved. However, later, in an attempt to win over the jury, he was heard apologizing for his actions.
Every day, I face the facts of what I did and what happened.
Carpio claimed he was suffering from mental illness at the time of the crime, but the court didn't entertain the claims. However evil you think Carpio is, how does he